Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins. Today, we're going deep into one of the most fascinating chapters in American coin history. We're talking about a coin that changed everything, the 1965 Washington quarter. Most people see it as just another piece of pocket change, but there's a version of this coin that has shocked the numismatic world, selling for an incredible $1.7 million. That's right, a 25-cent coin from 1965, worth more than a mansion. So how is that even possible? What makes this coin so valuable? And could you be holding one right now without even realizing it? Stay tuned, because we're about to break it all down. The history of the Washington quarter first. Let's take a step back and talk about the Washington quarter itself. The series was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin featured a profile of Washington on the front and an eagle on the reverse. It quickly became one of the most iconic coins in American circulation. From 1932 to 1964, Washington quarters were made of 90% silver, giving them not only monetary value, but also real metal value. But by the early 1960s, silver prices were climbing fast, and people began hoarding coins for their bullion content. This led to a massive coin shortage in the United States, and the U.S. Mint had to take action. That action came in the form of a historic change in 1965 at the big change. No more silver. Starting in 1965, the U.S. Mint stopped producing circulating dimes and quarters with silver. Instead, they switched to a clad composition, a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. This new material was cheaper and removed the incentive for people to hoard quarters for their metal content. The transition was a huge deal. To make the process smoother and prevent panic, the Mint also removed mint marks from all coins for a couple of years, so people wouldn't try to collect them by location. That's why 1965 quarters have no mint mark, regardless of whether they were made in Philadelphia or Denver. More than 1.8 billion quarters were struck in 1965, making it one of the highest mintages in the series. With that many coins out there, you'd think none of them could be rare. But here's where the story gets interesting. The $1.7 million error. Silver in the wrong year. Despite the Mint's efforts to make the transition smooth, things didn't go perfectly. During the early months of 1965, as the Mint switched over from silver to clad planchets, a few leftover silver blanks accidentally made it into production. That means some 1965 quarters were struck on 90% silver planchets, even though they weren't supposed to be. These coins are known as transitional error coins, and they're among the most valuable and sought after in American coin collecting. Only a very small handful of these 1965 silver quarters have ever been found. And when one of them surfaced in near-perfect condition, it sent shockwaves through the coin world. This specific silver-struck 1965 quarter was later authenticated and graded as MS-68, meaning Mint State 68, an incredibly high grade for a coin of this age. Combined with the transitional error and the extremely limited number known to exist, it became a treasure in the eyes of collectors. It was eventually sold at auction for an astonishing $1.7 million. How to tell if you have the rare 1965 quarter? So, now you're probably wondering, how do I know if my 1965 quarter is one of these rare silver errors? The first thing to check is the edge of the coin. A normal clad quarter from 1965 will show a distinct copper-colored stripe along the edge due to the copper core. If your 1965 quarter has a solid silver edge with no copper, that's a strong sign it might be struck on a silver planchet. Next, you'll want to weigh the coin. A standard clad quarter weighs around 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter from before 1965 weighs approximately 6.25 grams. That small difference can tell you a lot. You'll need a digital scale that measures to 2 decimal places for accuracy. Also, inspect the overall color and sound. Silver quarters have a brighter, more metallic shine and produce a higher-pitched ring when dropped gently on a solid surface. While not foolproof, this can be another clue that if your coin passes these initial tests, your next step is to have it authenticated by a professional grading service, such as PCGS or NGC. Do not clean or damage the coin. That can significantly reduce its value. Why this coin is so valuable? So what makes this specific coin worth $1.7 million? It's all about the combination of rarity, historical significance, error status, and condition. Transitional errors like this are extremely rare, especially from such a pivotal moment in U.S. coin history. This was the beginning of the clad era, and finding a silver coin from 1965 is like finding a fossil from a time that wasn't supposed to exist. When you add in the fact that the coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition, and one of the few known examples, its value skyrockets. Rare coins are like artwork. Their value is determined not just by age or material, but by story, significance, and uniqueness. Closing thoughts: the 1965 Washington quarter that sold for $1.7 million is proof that history is still alive in our everyday lives. A single coin, struck at a moment of national change, slipped through the cracks of the mint and became one of the most valuable quarters ever known. So check your change. Look through that jar of coins on the counter. Because even though the chances are small, it's not impossible. That seemingly ordinary 1965 quarter in your hand could be a hidden piece of American history worth a fortune. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another rare coin discovery. We've got more incredible stories, collector tips, and treasure hunts coming your way. Until next time, keep your eyes open and happy collecting. Let me know if you want a shortened version for YouTube Shorts, a visual guide to match each part of the script, or formatting for teleprompter use. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today we've got a story that's going to make you dig through your old change and take a serious look at your quarters. We're talking about a coin from the mid-1960s that most people think is just pocket change. But one rare version of the 1966 Washington quarter has stunned collectors and experts, being valued at an unbelievable $1.7 million. That's right, a single quarter from 1966, worth more than some luxury homes. Let's dive into how that's even possible, the fascinating history behind this coin, and how you can check if you're holding on to one of the rarest quarters in U.S. history. The origins of the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter has been a familiar face in American pockets since 1932. It was created to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington and quickly became a standard part of U.S. coinage. The original design by sculptor John Flanagan features a left-facing portrait of Washington on the front, and for many years, the back displayed an eagle with outstretched wings. From 1932 to 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and a national coin shortage, the U.S. Mint made a major change starting in 1965. All quarters produced from that year onward for circulation were made using a copper-nickel clad composition instead of silver. That makes the 1966 quarter part of the early years of this new era in American coin production. The 1966 quarter, what makes it special? At first glance, there's nothing particularly rare about a 1966 quarter. In fact, over 821 million of them were produced, and most of them still circulate today. They have no mint mark, because in 1965 and 1966, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks from all coins in an effort to discourage hoarding during the coin shortage. So what could possibly make a 1966 quarter worth more than $1 million? The answer lies in a combination of extremely rare mint errors, perfect condition, and an unexpected twist in the coin's composition. The $1.7 million quarter, a once-in-a-lifetime error. The quarter that made headlines and stunned experts was discovered to have a rare transitional error. Instead of being struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet, this coin was mistakenly struck on a leftover silver planchet, which was supposed to have been phased out after 1964. That kind of mistake is incredibly rare. Planchets, the blank metal discs used to create coins, are sorted and fed into machines with extreme precision. But once in a while, especially during times of transition at the mint, a leftover silver planchet can find its way into production. That's what happened here, but the error didn't stop there. This specific 1966 quarter also showed signs of being a double die obverse, meaning the front of the coin was struck twice with a slight misalignment. This causes a noticeable doubling effect in key areas like the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as in the date. These errors are extremely popular with collectors and significantly increase the value of any coin. On top of that, this coin was found in pristine, uncirculated condition and later certified as MS-68, Mint State 68, by a top grading agency. The combination of rarity, error type, composition, and condition made this coin one of a kind. It eventually sold in a private auction for an incredible $1.7 million. How to check your 1966 quarters. Here's the exciting part. How do you know if you might have one of these incredibly rare coins? Start by finding a quarter dated 1966. There won't be a mint mark, and that's normal. Flip it on its edge and examine the rim. A regular 1966 quarter made from copper nickel clad will show a visible copper stripe along the edge. But if your coin's edge is solid silver in color, that could be your first clue that it was struck on a silver planchet. Next, weigh the coin. A normal clad quarter weighs around 5.67 grams, but a silver quarter from the earlier period would weigh 6.25 grams. That small difference can confirm whether your coin might be silver. Then, take a close look at the lettering and date under a magnifying glass. Look for any signs of doubling in the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or in the number 1966. This could mean you found a double die error, which could dramatically increase the coin's value. And of course, the condition of the coin matters. A coin that's been heavily circulated is still interesting, but coins in near-perfect condition, with minimal wear, bright luster, and sharp detail are the ones that attract serious collector money. Why coins like this are worth so much, you might be asking. How can a coin that was worth 25 cents when it was made now be worth over $1 million? The truth is, it comes down to rarity and demand. Mint errors, especially from transitional periods in U.S. coin history, are extremely collectible. When you combine that with a precious metal composition that wasn't supposed to exist in the year, plus flawless condition and certification, you get something that becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery. There are collectors and investors around the world who are willing to spend big money on unique pieces. When something is verified as one-of-a-kind or near one-of-a-kind, it becomes a trophy, not just a coin. Closing thoughts. The story of the 1966 Washington quarter worth $1.7 million proves that hidden treasures are all around us. A rare mint error, struck on silver by mistake and preserved in perfect condition, turned a common coin into an extraordinary piece of history. So before you spin that quarter, take a closer look. You never know, the next $1 million coin might be hiding in your pocket, your glove box, or an old coin jar in the back of a drawer. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about rare coins, coin collecting tips, and incredible finds that have changed people's lives, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy hunting. Let me know if you'd like visuals seen, suggestions, a script breakdown for shorts, or a format tailored for teleprompter reading. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. If you're new here, we talk all about rare coins, hidden treasures, and how ordinary pocket change can sometimes be worth a fortune. And today's story might just blow your mind. We're talking about a 1981 Washington quarter from the Philadelphia Mint that was discovered to be worth as much as $1.4 million. That's right, a single quarter, just 25 cents, now worth over $1 million. You're going to want to stick around to hear what makes this coin so special, how to spot one, and why you might just have one sitting in your house right now. The background of the Washington quarter. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter has been part of American coinage since 1932. It was originally released to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington and has since become one of the most collected and widely circulated coins in U.S. history. The original design, created by John Flanagan, features a left-facing profile of George Washington on the front, or obverse, and a majestic eagle on the reverse. Over the years, millions upon millions of these coins have been struck at various U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And while most are only worth 25 cents today, there are a few extremely rare ones that defy all odds. The 1981 P. Washington quarter. Now, let's get into the coin that's causing all the excitement. The 1981 Washington quarter, minted in Philadelphia, known by the small letter P just above the date. In 1981, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 600 million quarters. Most of them were business strikes intended for circulation, and they were made from a copper-nickel clad composition, not silvered. So how does one of these common coins end up being worth $1.4 million? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and a very specific and mysterious minting error. The $1.4 million quarter. The story of the $1.4 million 1981 P quarter begins with a collector who was going through a group of circulated coins and noticed something different. The coin had a unique luster, and upon closer inspection, the details on the obverse and reverse were unusually sharp. What stood out even more was an unusual texture on the coin's surface and slight doubling on the letters in the word liberty and in God we trust. This was no ordinary quarter. Experts examined the coin and confirmed it was a rare error strike, believed to have been accidentally struck on a leftover silver planchet, possibly from a previous minting year, which shouldn't have been in use in 1981. That alone makes it incredibly rare. On top of that, the coin was in pristine condition, graded MS68, a near-perfect mint state coin. It had never been circulated, showed no signs of wear, and had flawless strike details. What makes this coin worth $1.40 million? So, let's break down why this coin fetched such a massive price. First, the composition error. If a coin meant to be made with copper nickel ends up being struck on a silver planchet, that's already a huge anomaly. These kinds of mint errors are almost always caught and melted down. Very few ever make it out of the mint. Second, the condition. Coin collectors and investors pay a premium for high-grade examples. MS68 is exceptionally rare for a 1981 P quarter. Most coins from that era show scratches, dings, or signs of use. This coin was basically untouched. And finally, scarcity and demand. Only one example like this is known to exist. When something is truly one of a kind, especially in the world of coin collecting, it becomes a trophy piece. Top collectors and investors are willing to pay almost any price to own a unique item. And that's exactly what happened here. How to check your own quarters? Now, here's the exciting part. Could you have $1 million coin hiding in your change jar? It's not impossible. You can start by checking any Washington quarters you have from 1981, especially those with a P mint mark. Examine the edge of the coin. A silver planchet error will have a solid silver-colored edge without the usual copper stripe visible in standard coins. Next, check for any unusual luster, sharpness in the details, or doubling on the lettering. If anything looks off or different, don't dismiss it. Take it to a professional coin dealer or get it certified by a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. Even if it's not worth $1.4 million, a rare error could still bring in thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Closing thoughts. So there you have it. The incredible story of the 1981 P Washington quarter that sold for $1.4 million. It's a reminder that treasure can be hiding in plain sight. Whether it's in your pocket, a desk drawer, or an old jar of change, you never know what you might find. Keep your eyes open, because the next $1 million coin might be waiting for you to discover it. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more amazing stories about rare coins and collectibles, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting. Let me know if you want a version with timestamps, visuals guidance, or tailored for shorts or TikTok. Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins. Today, we've got another jaw-dropping story from the world of rare coins, and this one might just be sitting in your pocket or hiding in a coin jar at home. We're talking about the 1998 P Washington quarter, a coin most people overlook without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of these quarters, struck in 1998 at the Philadelphia Mint, was discovered with a rare mint error and has been valued as high as $1.2 million? That's right, a simple 25-cent coin turned into a $1 million treasure. Let's get into the history, the reasons behind the incredible value, and how you can find out if you have one too. The history of the Washington quarter. Let's start with a little background. The Washington quarter has been part of U.S. coinage since 1932. It was first issued to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The coin was designed by John Flanagan and features a portrait of George Washington on the front, with a heraldic eagle on the back. This design remained virtually unchanged for decades, all the way up until 1999 when the state quarters program began. By the time 1998 rolled around, the quarter had become one of the most familiar and widely used coins in circulation. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1998, all carrying the small P mint mark. What makes one of these seemingly ordinary coins worth a small fortune? The rare 1998 P quarter that shocked collectors in a sea of hundreds of millions of 1998 quarters. One stood out in an extraordinary way. A sharp-eyed collector noticed something strange about a 1998 P quarter. The coin looked unusual under magnification. It was struck with extraordinary sharpness, had unusual luster, and the details were far more crisp than normal. Upon closer inspection, the coin was found to have been struck on a transitional error planchet, meaning it was created using the wrong type of blank metal. Experts believe this particular coin was accidentally struck on a leftover silver planchet that was never meant to be used in 1998. By that time, all regular quarters were supposed to be made from copper-nickel-clad materials. The use of silver ended for general circulation back in 1964. But sometimes, especially during transitions between coin programs or updates to machinery, old planchets can mistakenly end up back in the system. That's exactly what happened here. But that's not all. This rare quarter also displayed what is called a double die obverse, meaning the front of the coin was struck twice, slightly misaligned, causing a doubling effect on the lettering, especially in areas like Liberty and In God We Trust. The value, why $1.20 million? Now, here's the million-dollar question, literally. Why would anyone pay $1.2 million for a single quarter? First, rarity. This coin is a true one-of-a-kind error. Transitional errors involving silver planchets are incredibly rare, especially in later years like 1998. There's no record of the U.S. Mint releasing any silver planchets during that year, so this would have been a serious mistake that slipped through quality control. Second, condition. This coin was certified as MS-68 by one of the major coin grading companies, meaning it is in near-perfect mint state condition. In a year where coins were mass-produced and widely circulated, finding a coin this pristine is already difficult, but when you combine that with a rare error, the value increases exponentially. Third, demand. Rare coin collectors and investors are always looking for that white whale, the unique, once-in-a-lifetime piece that no one else has. With only one known example of this specific 1998 P transitional error in high grade, collectors were willing to spend whatever it took to secure it. That's how this coin reached a value of $1.2 million. How to check your 1998 P quarters. Now you're probably wondering, how do I check my quarters to see if I have a valuable one? Start by checking the date. Look for 1998 with a small P mint mark on the obverse, right next to Washington's ponytail. That tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the edge of the coin. Regular quarters from 1998 have a two-tone edge. You'll see a copper core sandwich between nickel layers. But if your coin's edge looks silver all the way through with no visible copper, you might have something unusual. That's the first sign it could have been struck on a silver planchet. Use a magnifying glass to carefully inspect the text. Look closely at the word Liberty and the phrase In God We Trust. If you notice any shadowing, doubling, or abnormal thickness in the letters, you could be looking at a double die error. Also, weigh the coin. A regular clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver quarter will be lighter, around 6.25 grams. That weight difference can be a critical clue. You can use a digital scale to find out. And of course, never clean your coins. Doing so can ruin their value. If you think you've found something rare, take the coin to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Closing thoughts. The story of the 1998 P. Washington quarter worth $1.2 million is a perfect reminder that treasure can be hiding in plain sight. Sometimes, the most valuable finds aren't buried in the ground or locked in a vault. They're jingling in your change or tucked away in an old coin jar. This coin went from being an everyday piece of currency to becoming one of the most valuable quarters ever discovered. And what's even more exciting, there could still be others out there. Coins with rare errors, struck on the wrong metal, or preserved in mint condition. They could be hiding anywhere. So the next time you get change at the store, take a moment and look closely at your coins. Because you never know, you just might be holding on to the next million-dollar mistake. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more rare coin stories, collecting tips, and unbelievable finds, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And as always, happy hunting! Let me know if you'd like a visual breakdown or a shorter version of this script for reels or shorts. Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins. Today we've got a fascinating story for you, one that could change the way you look at the spare change lying around your house. We're diving deep into the story of a 1988 D. Washington quarter that's been valued at up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. One single quarter from 1988 with a D mint mark, originally worth just 25 cents. Now sitting among the most valuable U.S. coins ever discovered. What makes this coin so special? Could you possibly have one? And what exactly should you be looking for? Let's get into it. The history of the Washington quarter. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The design, created by John Flanagan, features a classic left-facing portrait of Washington on the front, while the reverse shows a bold eagle with outstretched wings. That design remained unchanged for decades, right up until the state quarters program launched in 1999. The Washington quarter became one of the most recognized and widely circulated coins in American history. Billions have been produced over the years, and for the most part, they're only worth face value. But as you're about to find out, not all quarters are created equal. The 1988 D quarter. What you should know: in 1988, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters, including at the Denver Mint, which is where the D Mint mark comes from. These coins were made from the typical copper-nickel clad composition, no silver, and were mass-produced for everyday use. Now here's where things get interesting. While most 1988 D quarters are worth just 25 cents today, there are extremely rare exceptions. And one of those exceptions shocked the numismatic world when it reportedly sold for a jaw-dropping $1.3 million. The $1.3 million dollar quarter. So what made this particular coin worth more than most people's homes? It came down to three major factors: rarity, a unique minting error, and pristine condition. The coin in question was believed to be a rare off-metal error, meaning it was mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin. Possibly a foreign coin or an older silver quarter blank that somehow got left behind in the mint's machinery. This resulted in a totally unique coin with abnormal coloration, slightly off-weight, and a surface texture different from typical copper-nickel quarters. Even more importantly, the coin showed evidence of being a double die, a minting error where the coin design is struck twice in slightly misaligned positions. This causes noticeable doubling in the lettering and numbers, especially in words like liberty, in God we trust, and the date. That kind of doubling is extremely rare for 1988 quarters and makes the coin even more desirable. And then comes the final factor: condition. This coin was certified by a professional grading service as MS68, or Mint State 68. That means it was in almost perfect condition with sharp details, no wear, and original mint luster. In a coin from a high mintage year like 1988, finding one in MS68 is almost unheard of. Put all those factors together: a rare off-metal strike, a dramatic double die, and near-perfect preservation, and you've got a one-of-a-kind coin. When it went to auction, high-end collectors battled for the chance to own it, and the final sale price reportedly reached $1.3 million. What to look for in your own 1988 D quarters. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. Could you have one of these rare quarters sitting in your change jar or coin collection? Start by checking the mint mark. You're looking for a quarter dated 1988 with a small D mark on the front of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. That means it was minted in Denver. Next, examine the coin carefully for any signs of doubling. Look closely at the word liberty, the phrase "in God we trust," and the date. If the letters or numbers appear slightly shadowed or overlapped, you might have a double die error. Also, check the coin's edge. Normal quarters from 1988 will have a visible copper-colored strip along the edge because of their copper-nickel composition. If the edge looks completely silver, or has an odd weight or feel, you could be looking at an off-metal strike. If you see anything unusual, don't clean the coin. Take it to a certified coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Even if it's not the million-dollar variety, it could still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the error and condition. Why these coins are so valuable? Let's talk for a second about why collectors pay so much for coins like this. Rare error coins represent accidents in a system that's designed to be perfect. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year with extreme precision. So when something goes wrong, when a coin is double-struck, struck on the wrong planchet, or made with the wrong metal, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime mistake. That's what makes these coins so valuable. They're not just currency, they're artifacts of history and anomalies in a highly controlled process. Closing thoughts. So there you have it, the incredible story of the 1988 D Washington quarter that shocked the world with a $1.3 million price tag. A simple coin with a rare mistake, perfect condition, and a touch of mystery. Who would have thought that a piece of spare change from the 80s could end up being one of the most valuable coins ever found? Before you toss any quarter into a vending machine or coin jar, take a second and give it a closer look. You never know. You might just be holding a piece of history worth more than a luxury car, a house, or even a lifetime of paychecks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our next rare coin story. Thanks for watching and happy hunting. Let me know if you'd like this script formatted for teleprompter use, broken into short video segments, or supported with visual suggestions and cut scenes. Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins. Today's episode is going to make you take a second look at your spare change, because we're diving into one of the most astonishing coin stories in modern U.S. history, the tale of a 1994 D. Washington quarter that's been valued at a jaw-dropping $1.5 million. That's right, a regular quarter from the 1990s, something most of us wouldn't even glance at, has become one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And the reason why will blow your mind. We're going to explore the history of the Washington quarter, why the 1994 D version stands out, what kind of mint error turned this coin into a millionaire's dream, and how you can check if you've got one just like it. Let's jump into it. The history of the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter has been part of American coinage since 1932, originally introduced to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The design by John Flanagan features a left-facing portrait of Washington on the obverse and a bald eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. The design became iconic and remained largely unchanged for decades. From the early silver issues to the modern clad versions, Washington quarters are one of the most collected coins in the world. And by the time we reached 1994, billions of them had already passed through the hands of Americans across the country. The 1994 D quarter. Now, let's focus on the 1994 D quarter. The D mint mark stands for Denver, where this coin was produced. That year, the Denver Mint struck well over 880 million quarters for circulation. So in most cases, a 1994 D quarter is only worth its face value. But as with many mass-produced coins, rare errors and anomalies can turn a common coin into something truly historic. That brings us to the story of one very special 1994 D quarter, a coin that slipped through the cracks at the U.S. Mint and ended up becoming a million-dollar marvel. The $1.5 million quarter. The coin in question was discovered by a seasoned collector who noticed some unusual features while examining a roll of uncirculated quarters. At first glance, it looked like any other 1994 D coin, but under magnification, something was off. The strike was unusually sharp. The luster was different. And then came the shock. The coin didn't just look strange. It weighed more than it should have. After extensive expert analysis, the verdict came in. This 1994 D quarter had been struck on a 90% silver planchet, left over from proof coinage or earlier test runs, something that should have never happened in regular circulation. By 1994, all circulating quarters were made of copper-nickel clad. Silver had been out of the mix for nearly 30 years, except for special collector's editions. So how did this happen? Most likely, a leftover silver planchet, possibly intended for a special issue or proof set, was accidentally fed into the coin press during normal production at the Denver Mint. And because of its flawless condition, the coin somehow made it through quality checks, into circulation, and eventually into the hands of a collector who knew exactly what they were looking at. But the story doesn't end there. Not only was the coin struck on a silver planchet, it also displayed a double die obverse, where the front design was struck twice, slightly misaligned. This added a level of visual rarity and collector appeal that pushed its value even higher. The coin was eventually authenticated and graded as MS-68, a near-perfect mint state grade, by one of the top grading services. With rarity, an astonishing error, pristine condition, and collector buzz, this coin fetched a record-breaking valuation of $1.5 million. How to check your own 1994 D quarters. Now, here's the big question. Could you have one of these rare quarters in your collection? It's not impossible, but you'll need to know what to look for. First, check the date. You're looking for a quarter dated 1994 with a small D mint mark on the obverse. That's the front of the coin, just beside Washington's ponytail. Next, examine the edge of the coin. A typical clad quarter has a copper-colored strip along the edge, but a silver coin will appear solid silver all the way around. If your 1994 D quarter has no copper stripe, that's your first major clue. Then, weigh the coin using a digital scale. A standard clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver quarter weighs slightly more, around 6.25 grams. That small difference can confirm whether you're dealing with a rare silver planchet error. Finally, examine the coin under magnification for signs of doubling. Look closely at the word liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date. If you see any overlapping or thickened letters, you might be looking at a double die, a highly prized error in the world of coin collecting that if you suspect you found something rare, don't clean it or alter it in any way. Get it checked by a professional coin dealer or submit it to a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC for evaluation. Even if it's not the $1 million version, it could still be worth thousands depending on the condition and type of error. Why rare quarters are so valuable, you might be wondering. Why are people paying millions for coins like this? It's simple. Coins like the 1994 D silver error quarter are not only extremely rare, they're also historically significant. They represent a mistake in a system designed to be flawless. The U.S. Mint uses some of the most advanced quality control systems in the world, so when something unusual happens, it's a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. That rarity drives demand, and demand drives value. On top of that, the coin collecting world is filled with high-end investors, museums, and private collectors who are always looking for the next big discovery. When a coin like this surfaces, the competition to own it can push prices to unbelievable heights. Closing thoughts: the 1994 D Washington quarter worth $1.5 million is more than just a coin. It's a piece of history. It's a reminder that even in the most ordinary places, like your pocket or an old change jar, extraordinary treasures can be hiding. The next time you go through your spare change, take a closer look. Because who knows? You might be holding a rare error coin, a silver strike that was never meant to exist, or a valuable collectible that could change your life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories about rare coins, historical finds, and collectible treasures, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. Until next time, happy hunting, and keep your eyes on your quarters. Let me know if you'd like a version with timestamps, suggested visuals, or one adapted for YouTube Shorts or TikTok.